What's going on, guys? PlayBox here, and we're back for another Dragon Ball Legends video. Now in this video we're just going to be having a small discussion about the current state of the game, and I'm doing this video because mainly I didn't have that much time to record a PvP video, so I decided why not just do a discussion. And someone did mention or messaged me about possibly just doing a discussion video talking about the state of the game, talking about the current meta, and just overall what the game is currently and the position it is in right now. So we're just going to be talking about those topics currently. So why not just start with the meta of the game right now. So currently in PvP, I would say the meta is pretty much dominated by one single tag, and we all know what team that is, and it's hybrid. So I wouldn't say it is the only team, of course, you're going to be facing, but I would easily say that 70% of my matches are basically hybrids, and it's getting pretty annoying. But one thing that makes this even more frustrating is the recent additions that they gave. So let's start off back from Revival Gohan. So this release of Revival Gohan, the release itself of this unit wasn't too bad, but the fact that they made this unit extremely powerful and as the main unit from part 2 of the anniversary is what makes it even worse, because everyone was waiting for Gogeta, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and they basically cucked him and made this freaking Revival Gohan exponentially better than him. So that's a big reason why a lot of people are not happy with it. If it was just like him, if Gogeta was in the position that Gohan is right now, I'm pretty sure there wouldn't be this much of an uproar. But it is what it is. So his release pretty much gave hybrids their top spot in the meta as pretty much the best team in the game, because you have him, the best unit in the game in Zenkai LF Gohan, and then you have Future Gohan, who is an insane LF unit. So that little trio right there makes hybrids top tier. So that's all fine. I mean, it's not really fine, but it is what it is, right? And then they go ahead and release LF Frieza. So that was a good move, you know. They released LF Frieza, that LOE needed a big buff, you know. So they released LF Frieza on possibly one of the worst banners of all time, you know, alongside the LF Super Saiyan 4 banners, where they only released one new unit, and that new unit is the LF unit. So in the future, if you're watching this for whatever reason, but I'd stop making those type of banners. That is just absolutely garbage. Who would want to summon on a banner where there's only one new unit? Like, that makes absolutely no sense. So, but the good thing is they did start buffing LOE with that change, and they also brought in, you know, the free-to-play pool squad, which was a really good free-to-play squad, because they're actually pretty viable in PvP, especially since you can get them all to 14 stars. The one downside is it is very energy. It consumes a lot of energy, right? So you would need like around, I believe, like 3k or a bit more than that to fully max out all those units. And not a lot of players have them at 3k. So most people, like myself, I mean, I have the resources, but I'm not going to be dumping it all into a team like the pool squad where I'm not going to be using that much, right? So that's all fine. And then to continue with the LOE buff, they release, you know, Zenkai Blue Piccolo, you know. He can easily buff the LOE tag, so that's a good Zenkai to bring in. Obviously, I'm kidding. I don't know what they were thinking bringing in this random Blue Piccolo Zenkai, who has a buff, I believe, against androids, and androids are not even that meta right now. I mean, they're still very top tier, but you don't see them very often, so I don't know what the thought process was behind that. And then we get to the big part of the problem, and that was what happened in this week's update. So we are currently celebrating the 50 million download celebration. So not downloads, 50 million user celebration. And in this celebration, they first of all released a free-to-play Broly, which is pretty cool. You know, he's a very viable option for Super Saiyans. But they also finally decided to give us our next Legends Limited Zenkai unit. So our last one was in March in the form of Super Saiyan 3, and they decided to give us our next LF Zenkai unit, and they decided to give it to Goten. So yeah, another new hybrid buff, and guess what? He's a Purple Sun Family unit, and his Zenkai ability is for Purple Sun Family. So straight away gives another Zenkai buff to the best unit in the game, or the co-best unit in the game, Revival Gohan. As if hybrids didn't need the buff to begin with, they decided to just give him a LF Zenkai. So this is already a stupid decision right off the bat. But as the data mines start flowing in, we get another piece of information, and they decide to Zenkai the Blue Super Saiyan Gohan from the Second Coming of Broly movie. So giving yet another unit for the hybrids team. And this one's actually a pretty solid option for hybrids because they needed a tank unit, right? So before this, you would be running the Zenkai Blue Trunks. And so now this Gohan is actually a pretty good substitute because they already have all the damage they need, so they don't need another damage dealer in the form of Super Saiyan 2 Trunks. So this Gohan actually slots in pretty well as, I would say, their main blue fighter. So yeah, we got 2 Zenkais for a already #1 clear-cut best team in the game. And I don't know what the reasoning behind this was. I mean, we just got the LOE buff, then we went to an All-Star banner in the form of GT. Because GT, no matter what they give them, they will constantly need buffs, because even with the coveted Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and the top tier Ice Shenron that introduced a new tier of power, and the Nova Shenron, GT, even with all those massive buffs, quote-unquote massive buffs, GT still needed more buffs because they were not honestly very good. So the All-Star banner is fine, but then they just completely skip over to hybrids again for whatever reason. I mean, a lot of people were speculating that it was either going to be Frieza or Super Vegito, because those two LF Zenkais would have helped tremendously for their respective tags. LOE definitely needed a new purple, and they could have definitely used the LF Zenkai. And Fusion Warriors, despite getting a lot of buffs during the anniversary, they're still not super top tier, I would say. Like, I fully main Fusions, and I would say there are a lot of teams better than them. So they could have definitely used a new purple, you know, just even though the purple Vegito Blue is very good, like Super Vegito would have definitely brought them up into the top 5, top 3 even teams in the game. So that could have definitely helped out Fusion Wars as well. But they decided to give it to Gohan for whatever reason. So that kind of, Goresh actually sums it up pretty well. I mean, this basically them releasing these 2 Zenkais, basically them spitting in our faces, like, we have been letting them know that there needs to be like actual changes to the game, and not just super buffing one team like forever. I mean, you need to be focusing on other tags to create a balanced meta, right? So that way people that don't just fully main hybrids can actually enjoy the game as well, because having an actual balance, having diversity in PvP is the #1 thing that the developers should strive for, because just going into PvP and facing the same team over and over again is just not fun at all. And that's pretty apparent with the community's reaction. Like, even Goresh said that he hasn't been grinding PvP as much as he has because he just burnt out with how many times he faces hybrids. And I completely share that sentiment, because even I don't fully, like, I completely wait until the last couple of days before I start grinding PvP, and I just don't feel like the urge to play PvP, since it's just so like stale. Like, that's also another big problem with the game, is it's just the gameplay is starting to become a bit stale. Hopefully this kind of changes with the PvP update that they're gonna be introducing soon, where they're buffing certain characters. It's really gonna be a big change, and it really depends on whether they do it right or not, because the last thing you want is for them to be buffing like hybrid units again, like just constantly buffing them. But like, that PvP update will pretty much kind of hopefully solve the problem where there is not a diversity in PvP right now. So we can hopefully see more and more tags. Like, when was the last time they buffed female warriors? I mean, I know it's not a very popular tag, but like, there's still like people that enjoy using those units, and it's been a while. I think launch, actually no, Kefla was the last unit, and Kefla was like one of the worst anniversary units we've gotten. So I don't know what they're thinking of that, but yeah, just focusing on different tags, you know, not just focusing on the main tags. And what's even worse is, like, honestly, I don't even know if they're doing this on purpose or not, because they have the data on what units are used the most and which are not, right? So that's why they're going to be introducing these buffs. So their main goal is to be buffing units that are not used very often in PvP, right? So they have this data. They know that hybrids, Revival Gohan, Future Gohan, Father Son Kamehameha Gohan, they know that these units are like the units are like used the most. Like they even post every season the most top 5, top 10 most used Sparkings in PvP. They have this data and they publish it to everyone for everyone to see. And despite that, they continue to focus on buffing this team for whatever reason. Like it's honestly such a dumb move on their part. I honestly don't understand the reasoning for it. At this point, it would be safe to assume that they're just like flipping a coin and seeing what it lands on. It seems like they're just picking randomly what teams to buff. Like we've seen in the past that they like to focus on specific tags and kind of build them up slowly and then go on to the next one. But this super buffing of hybrids is kind of ridiculous at this point, and it's even more ridiculous when they've started, like they barely started buffing LOE that hasn't seen a real buff since like DBS Frieza that dropped in the beginning of the year. And obviously releasing on the worst banner, they just completely gloss over it and then go on to the next buff, which was GT, and then go on to hybrids again. So I honestly don't understand their thought process on that. So it's pretty weird, and that pretty much brings us to the current state of the game. I mean, like a lot of people from what I've seen on Reddit and Instagram, Twitter, and all that stuff, they are not obviously happy with the game. You see it in all the replies on the Dragon Ball Legends Twitter page. People are just not happy with the decisions that the development team is doing, and a lot of the times the development team and like Toshi especially, they get the blame for all this stuff, which is, I believe, not that fair, because a lot of the times these decisions don't even come from them. It comes from their superiors. They're the one that calls all the shots, right? And if they don't like a certain thing, they'll just go with it, right? So a lot of the blame is kind of unfairly put on Toshi and the development team, but it is what it is, right? So I guess like the PvP changes, that's what's to come. Will really decide how the state of PvP will be. I mean, I'm open to whatever change they bring up. If it's a positive change, I'm all for it. So we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. And also, just on a quick side note, like when was the last time we got a battle version update? I mean, that was also another way they kept keeping the game fresh, is they kept introducing battle versions, and that would alter the gameplay a bit. So you would have to basically kind of learn over the new mechanics and kind of learn from scratch. So it kind of keeps the gameplay fresh, right? So I don't know when they're gonna be releasing a battle version, because that would be a very good thing to drop now, because the gameplay has become a kind of stale recently in the past couple of months. So that's something I would like to see as well. But that's gonna be pretty much it. I mean, I just want to discuss the current meta and like basically the state of the game and the decisions that the game has been doing recently. So that's gonna be it for the discussion. Drop a comment letting me know your thoughts on the current state of the game and what your thought is on the meta of PvP. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe, because that shit is so important. So don't forget. Other than that, have a great day. See ya.